Good morning. My name is Selena Ike, and this is Scott Ball and Kevin Peltier, and we're here to talk to you about Mpowrd, manual patient-operated wheelchair rehabilitation device.
Okay, so some background. People who have a brain or spinal cord injury can end up with something called hemiparesis or hemiplegia, weakness or paralysis of typically one side of the body. And what this kind of ends up creating a situation of is a patient is relegated to a wheelchair that they cannot propel themselves. A conventional wheelchair takes two arms with adequate strength in each arm to reach down, hold the push rim, and propel themselves forward. So that was our problem. Some work had been done already to address this problem. Our inspiration mainly come from a project called LARA, something developed at UCI. This is a sophisticated wheelchair that kind of came in one large piece. But our goal, and if we could go to the next slide, was to develop a device that allowed these patients with unilateral weakness to attain mobility and rehabilitation in a wheelchair that could have a device simply attached to it as easily as possible, something simple and easy to assemble, so that ultimately we could send these devices to certain areas of the country or the world that may have this need. And of course, people with disabilities are all across the world.
So we selected this project because it was open-ended and we could take it from the ground up. We looked at the scope of the project, and these are the design requirements that we felt were the most important. We wanted to make Mpowrd compatible with the most commonly distributed wheelchair from the Free Wheelchair Mission, so that it can be sent to other countries that are in need. And we wanted to implement widely available components that can be easily repaired and replaced. We wanted to retain the original wheelchair's functionality, which means when Mpowrd is mounted on a wheelchair, it can fit through a standard doorway, and patients can still propel themselves forward using the push rims of the wheelchair if they so choose. We also wanted no tools needed for the assembly, and we wanted it to be a cost-effective design. So patients who have a stroke or other injury that leaves them with muscle degeneration can't always reach or hold on to a push from a wheelchair and propel themselves forward with it. So this leaves them to use other unconventional ways of moving forward in a wheelchair, such as pushing along the floor with their feet. And this does not allow for any rehabilitation of the muscles or the lost movements. And it often forces patients to put their mobility as a priority over their rehabilitation. And we wanted to take advantage of the movements that patients generally retain from these injuries in the design of Mpowrd.
Yeah, of course, it'd be terribly energy inefficient for someone to try to propel themselves with just one arm, and you would have the tendency to go into a circle.
So we wanted a nice, simple, ergonomic design. A wheelchair is not an ergonomic device. The user has to conform around the chair in a way that isn't very natural. So what we did for the design of Mpowrd is we captured the motion that a human follows through when they extend their arms in the natural motion, and we used that path to derive the shape of the device. And the result was a device that conforms around the user. It fits in the spaces between the user and the chair, and it also allows the chair to still fit through a standard doorway. So here we have Mpowrd, the manual patient-operated wheelchair rehabilitation device. A device that allows the user to rehabilitate affected muscles while regaining their mobility. To move forward, the user simply pushes both arms forward at the same time, and to pivot, the user pulls back the one handle and pushes on the other. So the final design is built out of 22mm tubing, and that's important because that's the same size tubing that bicycle handlebars are made out of. So that allows us to just throw on and swap off inexpensive, widely available bicycle components, even components that weren't designed for the system. Also, the device pivots are on the same axis as the wheel, which means that the only step needed for assembly is to pull out the wheel bolt and replace it with one provided with a system that also mounts the device. So before fabrication, we need to make sure that this thing wouldn't deform in a way that would affect its performance. More specifically, if the point at which the brakes are mounted deflects too far, it will cause the whole system to lock up. So we tested and we simulated a 200 Newton load in the sideways direction, which is the most that we would expect during normal operation. And that point, which the brakes mount to, only deflected 2 millimeters, which is well within the play designed into the system. So after verification, we drafted drawings and sent those drawings out for fabrication. The tubes were formed and welded to form the frame, and we turned some bronze on the lathe to form the bushings. So the entire system cost about $1,000. Our sponsors, Precision Powder Coating and Tube Technology, covered the cost of the fabrication, which brings our cost for a single prototype down to $110.
So we started this project in mid-September, and we expect to have a fully tested device this July. We have achieved our midway goal of initial design, verification, and prototyping. And we plan to continue to proceed with initial testing of the device and modification next quarter, and field testing on patients this summer. Our main vision is availability. We want to make Mpowrd available to people of all backgrounds and socioeconomic statuses. In fitting this device to the free wheelchair mission's most commonly distributed wheelchair, we can distribute it to developing nations around the world who do not have the resources or the money to invest in very expensive rehabilitation equipment. We will be taking the next steps in design implementation and in improving patient rehabilitation this summer, as our device will be part of a 4-week rehabilitation trial in a hospital in Malawi, Africa. We stand together with Free Wheelchair Mission in their goal to bring this transformative gift of mobility to people in developing nations around the world. We are a team of students working in collaboration with Professor Rankensmeyer to improve rehabilitation robotics. My name is Selena Ike. I am the team lead. Scott Ball is our design engineer. Kevin Peltier is the resident physician, and Lawrence Ippolito is our document manager. Thank you, and do you have any questions?